Welcome everybody to this international coaching community webinar and about how to see what the client feels by reading facial expressions. My name is Patrick Vezovsky.
And my name is Kasia Vezovsky. We are the founders of the Center for Body Language.
And we are also known as the Europe's leading body language experts. You might have heard, as Alejandro just said a minute ago, you might have heard from us as specialists in internet marketing. We create also the release coaching method, but those are something for another webinar. Today, the content of this webinar is body language. And you will discover dozens of scientific insight in facial expressions the coming hour. Also, we will be able to practice together with you and assess your current knowledge with our quiz. And also, you will receive a lot of practical tips in between on how to apply this science in coaching. Watch out, it is a very interactive webinar, and we need your active participation for our quiz. So let's put this to work and let's exercise it right now before you have to answer the real questions. So you will see in a moment on your screen a statement, and the question for you is this statement true or is this statement false? Now, if you see the statement, obviously it's true. So everybody who thinks this statement is true, please raise your hand right now. You can raise your hand using the raise your hand button.
60% so far.
Great.
All right, so the large majority of you is correct. This webinar is going to be really fun. Okay, apparently not everybody is listening yet. If you are not listening yet, you'll figure it out on the way, don't worry. If you have any questions, you can post them already now, and we'll answer them in about 45 minutes. You can post them in the chat window on the side in the GoToWebinar application. And maybe you're curious why am I so passionate about body language. Well, one reason is that as a child, I had a slight hearing dysfunction called perceptive deafness. It was not so severe, but I mainly had to rely on body language of other people to understand clearly what they were saying. So I had to look at their body language. And what did not help also is the fact that I'm born in Poland and I was going to school in Belgium where I had to speak Dutch. And as a 12-year-old boy, it's body language that helped me to, despite the fact that my Dutch was not so good than the other people's. It's body language that helped me to connect with other people and make better friends at school. And this is why body language became my passion for over 20 years. And Kasia and I found each other, and we fit very well together, not only in love, but also in our intention to inspire others to build happier lives. And in meantime, we've trained thousands of people in this fascinating science. We love to do keynotes and corporate trainings. And one of our quality marks is that we appear every month on national TV and in the press with analysis of politicians and public figures. We've trained also 10 certified trainers in Belgium and Netherlands who give training at the Center for Body Language. And the main reason why the ICC has invited us for this webinar is because we're the only one in the world that have developed a micro-expression training with videos of more than 200 real-life simulations. This is really cutting-edge science. It's very useful for coaches. This program is called MeTV, and we are looking for experienced coaches or trainers that would like to represent this program in their area. And I'll tell you more about that at this webinar. Because why we're doing this also is because from my own experience, I know how troubling hearing loss can be for self-confidence of small children. So I'd like to mention that also 10% of today's profit goes to support initiatives to help children with hearing loss. I've been there and I know how difficult it can be. So that's why I would like to support those initiatives. Let's start with the basics. What are microexpressions? We define microexpressions as movements of facial muscles of half a second or shorter. Just to be clear, microexpressions are not proof of lying. They are just signals of emotions, but they are very reliable to detect lies. They have been discovered by Haggard and Isaacs in the 60s, and since then there's been a lot of research, more than 50 years of research by pioneers like Paul Ekman, David Matsumoto, Alice Friesen, Howard Cho, and so on. Oh, by the way, you don't have to worry about my hearing loss. My ears are perfectly fine in meantime. And now, before we go deeper into the science of facial expressions, I'm curious to listen first to Kasia about the advantages of knowing how to read microexpressions.
Microexpressions are very useful to, especially for coaching sessions, because microexpressions can help you to build a better rapport with your clients. And especially at the beginning of the session with a new client, this is very important. This is an important difference if your client seems sad or angry at the beginning of the session. And it's good to adjust the questions and the session speed to your client's mood. Second advantage of knowing microexpressions is that you can see exactly when your client shows negative microexpressions. For example, your client is talking about work and he says that everything is fine, but then shows a microexpression of fear. Actually, this is very important information and it is good to refer to that during the session. Knowing microexpressions is also helpful to make a deeper and faster transformation, because sometimes people are not aware what they really feel, and you as a coach can help them to recognize those feelings. And for example, you can share your observations and say, oh, I saw that talking about your boss, you displayed a microexpression of anger. This could be very important for your client. Also, sometimes happened, and I had this situation, that client is telling you that they are angry, but you see a microexpression of sadness or contempt. All of these microexpressions you can address in the coaching session. Microexpressions are also very useful for business coaching. When you work with business clients in different specialties such as sales, negotiations, HR, it's also very important that you can help them to recognize microexpressions. And what would be even bigger challenge is that to refer to that what they see. Because during a business meeting, it's not possible just to say, oh, I see disgust on your face when you are talking about budget. No, you need to ask more elaborated questions and check the topic in a very diplomatic way. And this is what you can help your client as a coach. It's also good to attend the meeting together with your client, and then you can discuss what they can improve. If you would be giving training in the field of microexpressions, there are many different specialties that can benefit from the training with you. For example, microexpressions are very useful for salespeople to recognize better your client's needs, for negotiators to easier get to agreement and find the common ground with the person, real estate agents to sell the right house to the right person, financial advisors to recognize the risk that the client can take and how much money he can invest, also for HR managers to find more suitable employees for the right position. And as we talked before, for coaches to get faster to the point with the client and to facilitate a deeper transformation. It's also very useful for trainers, especially to establish better contact with your participants, and to, when you know microexpressions of your audience, you can also be more aware of what they need and what are their expectations. Microexpressions are also useful for police agents, advocates, judges to recognize lying and also incongruence in the speech of their clients.
Great, so now we know the advantages. Let's have a look at some theory and background of microexpressions. Did you know that you can hear up to 200 lies per day? Social psychologist Gerald Jellison of the University of Southern California, he published this in '77 already. And it's a lot of lies per day that we hear. Even in 2002, also Robert Feldman published a similar study when he discovered that about 2 to 3 lies per 10-minute conversation are told by persons. So of course, just be careful. Liars lie about lying, so it's up to you which research you believe. By the 1970s, there's been a lot of research to assemble all the smallest muscular twitches that people show on their face. And scientists had amassed more than 3,000 facial expressions. And in this webinar and in our training programs, we filtered from those 3,000 micro-expressions and 3,000 expressions in general. We filtered from them the ones that are most useful in daily life, and we will focus only on 7 basic micro-expressions like fear, anger, surprise, disgust, and so on, that are shown on somebody's face in the same way across all cultures. So this statement is true because there are 7 micro-expressions at least that are shown on faces in exactly the same way across all cultures. Now it's time for your question. And the better you answer, the more points you get. So this is the statement that I'm curious what you think about that. Raise your hand if you think this statement is true, that a true expression of contempt is always asymmetrical. What do you think? Raise your hand if you think it's true. Now everybody, you can put all the hands down, Alejandro, and everybody who thinks this statement is false, raise your hand. All right, very, very good. Alejandro, what are the results? So,
but we have
50-50.
Yeah, 50-50.
I see it very well. Thank you very much. Well, it's true. A true expression of contempt is always asymmetrical and looks like this. Contempt is an expression of being superior. Just if not everybody is familiar with that, that might be a little bit confusing. And it's a feeling that somebody expresses when they are feeling better, superior than somebody else. And it's shown by the rising of one of the lip corners. It's like a half smile. So if you know how to read micro-expressions, you might be inspired by TV series like Lie to Me, and you might think that it's very easy to read minds with micro-expressions. Well, it's not really true. Reading the minds of others is an illusion. It can happen occasionally when your intuition is very sharp and if you're really tuned in very well, but it's more chance than reality. But what is possible is to read emotions. You can identify with a very high accuracy what somebody feels just by looking at their facial expressions. Why they have that expression and what they're thinking about at that moment, well, that's a completely different story. What we've done in 2010 in Belgium is predicting the outcome of the presidential elections. 2 weeks before the Belgian elections took place, we published on the front pages of the Belgian newspapers our prediction of the results of those elections, who of the candidates would win, based on a nonverbal communication of the candidates. But this statement is false, because for our analysis, we didn't use only micro-expressions. We also based our predictions on more than 200 other body language signs. So when all Belgians had voted, our prediction proved to be 85% accurate. So yes, you can predict presidential elections up to a certain extent, but you need other body language signs, the micro-expressions, because it's very, very broad. But with this experiment, we had proven that body language can predict success or failure. Micro-expressions can also be useful in another domain. Paul Ekman has done a study showing nurses interviews of mental patients. And in some of those interviews, patients were shown negative emotions on their face that were masked with a smile. And there were very, very few nurses who could spot those negative emotions, that were hidden signs, that the mental patient intention was to act as if everything is fine, and they would be released from the mental hospital, go home, and would like to commit suicide. So yes, microexpressions can be very useful in predicting if somebody has the intention of committing suicide. Also, Heller and Haenel have done some study about that, and in 93 actually, Schneidman has defined this as the suicide syndrome. Anyway, this is a question for you. I hope you're ready. Raise your hand if you think this statement is true. Raise your hand now if you think that you can predict the outcome of a marriage based on microexpressions. Okay, very good. Now everybody raise your hand if you think that this statement is false. All right, let's have a look at the results. I'm curious myself. So most of you that this statement is true. Well, most of you are right. You can predict the outcome of a marriage based on microexpressions. Maybe most of you, or many of you, have read the study of Gottman, who in '94 did research on married couples and conducted a study with them and found a correlation between the chance on a divorce and the amount of the microexpressions. I hear you coughing, Alejandro.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So Gottman has found that there is a larger chance on a divorce when couples show the microexpressions of contempt and disgust more between each other. So this is something for you, maybe useful. If you see this disgust on your partner's face, you need to urgently see a relationship coach, both of you. And if you would like to know how you can see that, if you have to go to see that relationship coach, well, it's very easy, because you just have to look for wrinkles around the nose. Yes, this is one of the possible expressions of disgust. And if you see wrinkles around the nose on somebody's face, there is a high chance that that person feels disgust. However, it's not so simple. On the faces of tennis players, you can see often this expression. Here is also wrinkles around the nose. Does this look like disgust? Well, scientist Scherer has analyzed this carefully and concluded that however you see here the action unit number 10, that's the muscle movement scientifically defined, that is responsible, or one of the responsible muscles for identifying this as disgust. And he said that this is, no, this is not disgust, obviously. This is an expression of pain, of effort, or effort. And in this case, it shows also wrinkles around the nose. So summarizing, be careful. Disgust shows always wrinkles around the nose, but the wrinkles around the nose aren't always disgust. In other words, if you go see that relationship coach, or before you go to that relationship coach, be careful with your interpretations on the face of your partner, because a wrong interpretation could ruin your marriage too. So, but you're not the only one that could confuse all this, because actually scientists, they also confuse a lot of things sometimes. They seem easy to learn, microexpressions, but knowing how to do the interpretations, that is really something that requires exercise. Because, for example, for many years, scientists had trouble with analyzing the muscles around the nose when making a difference in noting scientifically the difference between a true big smile and disgust. And as you've seen in the previous pictures, in some cases, scientists had rated certain Trubik smiles as containing a little bit of disgust. And it's only in the 90s that this confusion has been cleared up. So be careful from which year you read books about body language. On this picture, you see one of my favorite authors, Carolyn Myss, and she just has a smile, and you still see wrinkles around the nose, but definitely this is not disgust. Now it's your turn again for the next question. Raise your hand if you think the statement is true. There are only 2 books in the world with pictures of all types of the microexpression of sadness. Raise your hand. This is true. All right, very good. Now raise your hand if you think that this is false. Very good. Alejandro, what are the results? You can write.
Yes, I wrote it on the chat. It's almost 50-50, 25 to 30%.
All right, so many of you think that this is rather false. It's almost 50. More of you think that it's rather false, and the most of you are correct. This statement is not true because there's not a single book in the world that shows a common expression of sadness. Here we're talking about the loss of muscle tone in the face. And because there is no clear movement involved with the loss of muscle tone, it's impossible to make a picture of it. However, you can see it in real life and you can see it on video. That's why we work with videos. And because with videos you can see a lot more. Now many people ask us how reliable judgments based on microexpressions are compared to the polygraph. There's been a lot of studies around this topic, but there's actually none until today that answers this question correctly. So this statement is false, that's for sure. Why? Well, because the accuracy of a judgment, if somebody lies or not, whether it's based on polygraph or microexpressions, doesn't matter, depends largely on who is making the judgment. And especially, how much experience this person has in detecting lies. It's all about experience. When making interpretations, there are many factors to take into account. For example, this one. What happens if somebody is under the influence of alcohol? Raise your hand if you think the statement is true. Alcohol makes extroverts show less microexpressions of happiness. Very good. Now everybody who thinks this is false, raise your hand. Most of you think that this statement is false. Well, actually, it's true. Why? Well, a German scientist, Willibald Ruch, has conducted a lot of studies between 1990 and 96 between the correlation of humor, emotions, and the influence of alcohol. And his studies show that extrovert persons under the influence of alcohol show less true expressions of happiness in their face. Anyway, the quiz was a smile stays longer on your face around 2 times when you're alone. Well, this statement is true because in the 90s, Hess and Clerk have measured that your smile stays usually between half a second to 4 seconds on your face in the presence of somebody else. However, when you're alone, an average smile stays around 6 seconds on your face. And also in 91, Fridlund has confirmed that this is really so by measuring the muscle named the zygomatic major muscle that is responsible, amongst others, for the smiles. And this statement is just for fun, because reading micro-expressions has nothing to do with beauty. However, I can testify from my experience that when I met Kasia for the first time, I wasn't so focused at her micro-expressions. Kasia, what were you looking at?
Actually, I was looking at your eyes. And actually, it's like that. Many times we have a gut feeling, the feeling in our stomach that we like a certain person or not. And probably it was in your case, Patrick. Okay. And there was very interesting research using EMG to measure the activity of facial muscles, and why it was measured on the face of the subject. They were also being shown the photos of different positive and negative microexpressions in a very high speed. What was the effect of the research? That we can actually distinguish negative and positive microexpressions on the subconscious level. And what is also very important, that we can react on them with our facial muscles without being conscious about those microexpressions. And this is very important information because now you know why it's possible to recognize negative or positive microexpressions, even though you don't process them on the conscious level. And especially for coaches, this is good news, because you can work on somebody's emotional state, and when you help the person to be more positive with their emotions, they are also going to display more positive microexpressions. As Patrick mentioned before about mind reading, we are not able to guess using microexpressions what the person is thinking in a specific moment. What we can only recognize are the emotions, and then we have to ask additional questions to the person about the thoughts. Now, there's a question for you. When somebody shows the microexpression of fear during intense questioning, they are probably lying. Who thinks that this is true? Please raise your hands. And now raise your hand if this is false.
Okay, let's have a look at those results.
Actually, most people answered that this is false, and this is a correct answer. Because you can imagine, for example, because you see a face of the woman here, and imagine that your wife is coming home 5 hours later that she's supposed to come, and you suspect her for having an affair. And what you do, you start questioning her intensively. And it will be natural that her first reaction will be fear. And this is because she's just overwhelmed by your questioning. And it doesn't tell anything what she has done during these 5 hours. To know the truth, you will need to look deeper for the differences between the words and the microexpression when she will be talking about this. Another question for you. When somebody shows the microexpression of contempt during a job interview, they are lying. Raise your hands if you think that this is true.
Just for clarity, contempt is the same as superiority.
All right. Now, raise your hand if you think that this is false.
Right. Most of think of you that it's false.
Yes, and this is true. This is false statement, because it's not possible to generalize having only the information about that there was a job interview, that when the person is showing the micro-expression of contempt, he's lying. Because you need to look for more specific context and always check if there is an incongruence between the specific words, the certain words, and the micro-expression of the person. If you think that scientists have discovered two specific micro-expressions that are a reliable sign that somebody lies, actually this is also false. Because it's not possible to find even a single micro-expression that is a reliable sign of lying. You can only find if the person is lying by comparing the words of the person with their body language and look for difference. And this is why we developed a body language congruency model. This model can help you to detect lies and also to make more accurate interpretations. What is also very interesting for me is that there are cultural differences between men and women in expressing emotions.
I find it also interesting for me.
Yes, okay. Yes, that's fine. Sometimes in our private context we surprise ourselves all the time. Yes, and there was a research of Walbot in 1988, and this research showed that male actors are better in showing the micro-expression of anger than women. And on the other hand, female actors are better in showing the micro-expression of fear than men. And the reason for that is that we get different cultural training in the childhood. And men are usually allowed and sometimes even enhanced when you live in the macho culture to show anger and aggressivity, but not fear. And it's the opposite way with women, because it's possible and it's allowed that a woman is fearful but not angry. Now, another question for you. When somebody fakes a smile, it will appear more asymmetrical. Raise your hand if you think that this is true.
And if you don't know, raise your hand anyway in one of the two.
Okay, and now raise your hand if you think that this is false.
All right, let's have a look at the results. I'm curious.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's almost 50-50.
I think it's more people answered that this is false.
Yeah, a little bit more.
A little bit more. So, actually this is true, because micro-expressions performed on purpose are more asymmetrical. And this is because when we show micro-expressions spontaneously, we normally react from our autonomous nervous system. And on the other hand, when we perform micro-expressions on purpose, we need to use our upper parts of the brain. We need to think about it, to process information. And then it appears more asymmetrical and less natural. This is also very important information, because this is how we can distinguish between authentic and fake emotions. And now imagine that someone is bullying you. Do you risk getting punched when you see this micro-expression?
Looks dangerous, huh?
Yes. Actually, not, because this person is showing fear. You can see it from his mouth, and he's probably too afraid of you to attack.
So it's not dangerous at all.
And now, another question, this time for you. If you see someone with this micro-expression, if someone is bullying you and you see this micro-expression on their face, do you risk getting punched?
Yeah, bullying means annoying you. So raise your hand if you think it's true.
When someone who is bigger is coming to you with this micro-expression on the dark street. Okay. do you risk getting punched?
Well, on dark street, I would be afraid even if somebody will be smaller than me. Anyway, raise your hand.
Raise your hand if you think that this is true.
All right, you had enough time to think. Now, all hands down and raise your hand if you think that this is false. If you think that this is not dangerous at all. Let's have a look at the results. So most of you think that this is true. You get risk getting punched. Very good.
And this is a correct answer. This is true.
You're safe on the streets.
Because actually he's showing a micro-expression of anger. And you can see it from his eyes, which are very wide open, and they have an angry glare. And what you can also see, that the eyebrows are lowered and pulled together. This is a typical micro-expression of anger. And now another question for you. If a salesperson is announcing the price while showing this micro-expression, you might end up paying too much. What do you think? Raise your hand if you think that this is true.
That's really an easy one. That's a giveaway. Raise your hand if you think that it is false. If you don't have this one right, then you really need to do some training. Okay, just joking. Let's have a look at the results. All right, very good. We're comforted.
I think
just only 15%.
Because of you were talking more with the first question.
Anyway,
that's why actually this is true.
Yeah, only 15% were wrong on this one. Good, very good.
Fine. And what we know about contempt from the previous slides, this is an expression of superiority. And probably the salesman thinks that he's more clever than you, and because of that, he can cheat you more easily. One more question for you. If your partner comes back from shopping and she has this micro-expression on her face, she probably spent a lot of money on her new dress. Who thinks that this is true? Raise your hand.
Okay, very good. I like this question. Raise your hand if you think this is false. And let's have a look at the results. It's about 50-50 with slightly, most people think it's false.
Great.
But
I think
most of you are almost correct.
I think that there are many ladies here to understand the situation, because you can just look at her face. She's sad because she didn't find a right dress to buy. That's why she has this micro-expression. All right, now another situation. Imagine that you went to the flea market and you want to buy a painting. And when you are talking about the price, the salesman seems sad. Why is it like this? Is it the price too low or maybe too high? Why he's sad? And actually, he's sad because the price is too low to sell his beautiful painting, and probably he would hesitate to do so, or if you really got this painting, you will have a great opportunity in your hands. Now, again about sadness. Coming back to your wife. She also seems sad talking about the price. Why she's so sad? Is it the price too low or maybe too high? Look at her. And actually in this situation, the price is too high to buy her new dress, not too low. And what is important to explain about those two slides is that it's important to be careful about reading micro-expressions, because it's very important to read them in context. And the same micro-expression on sadness in almost the same situation can have a totally different meaning, like here on the slides. Another question for you. If a candidate shows this micro-expression during an interview while speaking about her success in her previous job, she lies about it in her CV. Raise your hand if you think that this is true. Right, and now raise your hand if you think that this is false.
And I'm curious for the results. Most
Wow.
of you think that this is false, with about 20% who think it is true, but 80% of you or 75% of you are correct because this is false.
Excellent. Excellent answer. Actually, she's just happy sharing her success with you. That's why she seems happy and everything is fine with this. She's congruent with her answer. The one more interesting thing about micro-expressions and physiology of micro-expressions, you might tend to confuse the micro-expression of anger with the one of sadness. And this is because when you look at the face here, the micro-expression of anger and sadness is quite similar because the lips are pressed together. And there are only small differences to guess if it's more anger or sadness, and it also depends on the context. So be careful with reading micro-expressions.
Yeah, Kasia, you're right. And then Kasia said it really correctly, that making that difference between those micro-expressions, which one it really is really important, because Daniel Goleman has conducted a study and found that research has shown that emotional intelligence is 2 times more important as technical and cognitive skills combined for a successful career. And that's a study already from 1998, yeah, 98. And the last question for you, this is your last chance to get it really right. What do you think about this statement? Raise your hand if you think it's true. Learning the basics of seeing 7 micro-expressions takes most people only around 4 hours. Raise your hand if you think it's true. All heads down, and now raise your hand if you think that this is false. Let's have a look at the results. 50-50, exactly 50-50. Well, this statement is false. With our program, you're able to learn seeing the 26 most common variations of the 7 micro-expressions in just 1 hour. It takes just 1 hour to learn those 7 micro-expressions for most people. And let's have a look at the total results for everybody all together. So we had 12 questions in total, disqualifying the one that didn't appear on the screen properly. And so we had 12 questions in total. About more than 6 of those 12 were rated by approximately most people correct. 3 questions were 50-50, so it was just guessing, and 3 questions were wrong, totally wrong. So just slightly, your score as a group is around 65%, so it's like 15, almost 20% better than just rough guessing. Anyway, it's a good score. It's a good score. We did webinars where the score was really worse. So yeah, congratulations. We see that you have a lot of experience in coaching already and have a lot of emotional background. And you've seen that it's not so easy to make that difference between those very small tweaks in the face. But don't worry, several independent studies have found that just a little bit of training in deception clues can improve your ability with 25 to 50% in very short time. So let's have a look what you've learned in this webinar until now. If you see this on somebody's face, that's an expression of superiority, of contempt. If you see this microexpression, this means that somebody experiences disgust. It's the wrinkles around the nose. This is one of the expressions of fear. There are many of fear, so people can show fear in many, many different ways. And this is also one of them. If you see somebody while talking to you quite emotionally and showing this micro-expression, it's very, very, very common.
Or bullying you.
Or bullying you. That person is experiencing fear truly inside. Both sides of the lips down obviously is sadness. Actually, this is a very reliable sign of sadness because only 10% of people can fake this one.
And it's also something that is always shown in the cartoons.
Yeah, that's true. But it's very difficult to fake this one without raising the chin if it's not true sadness. So it's a very reliable sign. And this obviously is a sign of happiness. We use it very often. When I ask Kasia, for example, shall we go to some friends this evening, shall we go to see a movie, or shall we just stay at home? And I see both of her sides of her lips raising shortly like this. When she says, let's stay at home, then I know that her choice has been made.
Of course, sometimes we are also talking.
Yeah, we do that sometimes also. So let us show you just a 1-minute demonstration of how MeTV, the micro-expression training video, works. This is the main panel, and it might go a little bit slow on your side because this is not an application that will stream video through a webinar. But what happens in this application is here you will see a video playing, and then you have to guess which microexpression you saw. And if you guess correctly, then you can replay the video. You can replay it in slow motion as many times as you want. You can go through the video step by step. I need 2 hands to show it step by step because I have to push another button. So I won't do it now. But it's very easy to step by step find that micro expression and review it as many times as you want. And there are many possibilities to exercise because you can exercise at slow speed, you can exercise at normal speed, you can sharpen up your intuition at double speed. You can have a look what happens with micro expressions and how you can see them when you're listening to somebody or when somebody's listening, when the speech is muted, when you only see the mouth moving and no sound coming. And it's like muting your TV. And you can also see how it is when somebody's speaking. And then this is not so easy, so it's very useful to test yourself afterwards. In the training menu, you have step by step every micro-expression explained one by one with all the different possibilities. For example, for fear, you have 5 different possibilities where you can see the micro-expression of fear, and that's explained one by one in the program. Also, how to spot them, a lot of useful tips, and how to see lies. Now, on the chat window, I will send you a link. Let me copy-paste this one, and this link will bring you to this screen. All right, let me chat that to everybody. I can chat it only to Alejandro, I see, so I'll chat it to Alejandro, and Alejandro will chat it to everybody right now in just a moment. If you click on this link, you will get this page, and you see here Lambent on top. Yes, we've talked a lot with Joseph and Andrea, the founders of Dacian and Lambent, and Joseph tested MeTV, tested this program, And by the way, Joseph was really very glad. He had a very good score on the test quickly. And he really liked it. And this is why we're doing this webinar today. And this is also why on top of the page we partnered up and then you see Lambent on top. So here you can see the practitioner and the coach and the trainer trainings, which I'll explain in a few moments. But if you would like to buy a license for 1 year of MeTV, just click pricing and then you'll find everything here. So if you would like to meet us in person, that's also possible. You can meet us at the Master Coach Academy. You might have heard about this yet, but you're surely one of the first persons that sees this. This is a preview of the Master Coach Academy website, and we're very honored that we're one of the faculty speakers at the Master Coach Academy. The Master Coach Academy is set up by Joseph and Andrea, and it's the leading international program for a Master Coach certification. And we're very honored we're among the faculty speakers and among all those beautiful minds. This Master Coach Academy, it's an amazing program. It takes place in September. It starts in September, mid of September. And soon from Joseph and Andrea, when the website is ready, because the website is almost ready, you will get surely all information. And we will be teaching with all the persons that you see and even a lot more all together at this Master Coach Academy about micro-expressions. As Kasia explained at the beginning, they're very useful in coaching sessions for better rapport, deeper and faster transformation. You can use micro-expressions to coach others as a coach, to educate them how to recognize micro-expressions. And also you can train others in how to see micro-expressions. You can train salesmen, negotiators, HR managers. As you've seen, it's very useful for in HR to see whether a candidate lies or not. If you would like to learn that, that's really great, because we're looking for representatives of MeTV in their country. Right now we have only certified trainers and coaches in Belgium and Netherlands. And well, let me give you a 1-minute overview of what you can expect when you attend one of our live online trainings. And if you subscribe for the practitioner, then you get a 1-year MeTV license. It's a 4-week online training. So if you're here today, you can follow this too. It starts on 12 April. All replays are available. So if you're not online on 12 April or one of the 1-hour trainings that take place during the 4 weeks, you can watch everything online, all the recordings. You get them. At the end, there is an exam. If you pass the exam, you get the certification as a practitioner. Just click on the link in your chat window and you'll find all information there. Step further, after the practitioner, you can follow the coach or the trainer or both. And then you become a certified coach or trainer in micro-expressions. We help you with a lot of marketing support to attract more clients. Your name comes on the website, so potential clients can find you. You get all manuals, all pictures, all presentations to give coaching, to give training. For trainers, people will be able to contact you directly through the website in your area. As a trainer, you get also your own personal page with your picture and your CV on there, so you don't need an own website. And as quickly as possible, we make also a video of you. Yes, we will record you on video, whether while you're giving training or while you're giving a webinar, and as quickly as possible, we will help you to put that on YouTube and to appear in the results high in Google. So summarizing, we're dedicated to help you and promote you. If you register today, there is a free bonus only for people who register today, for the action takers. And you get an online course on 101 interpretations of body language of about €8 of value. And this is a very useful course because it complements micro-expressions. This is about body language science, and the trainings that you find on our micro-expression training video site is obviously only about micro-expressions. And just as I said in the beginning, 10% of all profits from all licenses and practitioner registrations of today goes to support children with hearing loss. So if you'd like to go for that, register today on here on this link /lambent-webinar. And for those who need more time to think about it, you can register also for our free 2-month body language e-course at the bottom of that very same page. It's a 2-month free body language e-course. Obviously, it's not, it's just a little tip of the iceberg of what you've seen, of what you will see in the practitioner coach or trainer trainings. Now, it's big time for your questions. We have about 15 minutes left to answer your questions. So if you have any questions, post them, and we're curious what you would like to know.
Patrick, I do have one.
Alejandro, can unmute your microphone.
Yes.
Yes.
Patrick, I do have one in Spanish, so I translate it to you if you want.
Great.
We understand Spanish.
You understand? Oh,
Yes, we understand.
that's fine.
We will answer in English, but we understand Spanish, so don't worry.
So the question is it possible to train to control microexpressions and cheat the partner, the people you are talking to? Is it possible to train ourselves to cheat others and control the microexpressions?
Well, first of all, we don't train that. So, is it possible? Well, our values are to be authentic and as much as possible, and that's what we reflect in our courses too. Why? Well, because when you try to cheat, it becomes worse. For example, in interviews with Hillary Clinton, you see her saying, "I'm really sad that hospital has been bombed," and after saying those words, she makes that sad face. So there's something wrong with the timing, right? She makes the face after the words, so there is something wrong. And this is even worse than not doing it at all. So manipulating or trying to manipulate yourself, your body will always tell the truth, whatever you do, sooner or later. Yes, there are some people that are good at deception for a certain while, but the truth always wins.
Mm-hmm. And what we also talked before, that microexpressions performed on purpose, they are more asymmetrical and also they are less natural, and the timing is different. So it's not so easy to fake, and it's better to just state your state of mind and be authentic with what you would like to say.
I hope this answers your question.
I think it totally does. There is another question from Sergio asking how Botox affects the possibility of detecting real smiles from false ones.
True, Botox indeed. It's a very bad thing because you cannot see, for example, sadness on somebody's face reliably when that person has Botox. In our courses, we will show you videos where you see somebody saying that he's sad, and you also feel inside that that person is sad, but you just don't see it on his face. It's an older man, so and you see that he has a flat forehead, so definitely there is something wrong. There's definitely Botox in there, and yes, it paralyzes the muscles, and then it impacts the microexpressions. Another thing, research has also shown that people that use Botox, that they don't have so good relationships anymore, and one of those reasons could be that they don't show their true emotions with their microexpressions anymore. So they become like alienated, and they can't make good connection with their friends anymore because they their forehead or their face looks fake. Yes, you don't see those micro expressions there anymore.
And we were also talking about smile. And yes, Botox can also affect smile because there are muscles connected to our brow. It's called orbicularis oculi muscle. And when you have Botox, it can change the reaction, contraction of this muscle, and this way your smile doesn't look so authentic.
Yeah. So with Botox, well, it depends where you use it. You cannot smile truthfully, or people cannot see your true smiles anymore, and that's really, really bad. So our advice is, don't use Botox. Don't worry, be happy.
Yes, and it's nice to have this wrinkles around your eyes. Don't worry about it.
All right, any other questions?
Yes, we do have another one from Fabian. He's asking, do you have any material for helping to medical doctors?
Mm-hmm. Yes, actually we are also giving training, especially to pharmaceutical companies, but also for doctors. And it's very important in their profession to recognize microexpressions and to see what the person is really feeling during the medical interview.
Yeah, we've done a couple of trainings for both sides, actually, for a conference of doctors and also at pharmaceutical companies, the representatives that go meet those doctors. And for both of those parties, yes, it's very useful, and we have specific material for that.
Yeah, there are also research on the microexpression of pain, and it's also possible to see on the face when somebody is feeling pain. We don't have it in our training, but it's also possible to see it.
Just one important side note, the microexpression of pain, it's not proven yet, there's not one research yet that it's universal. So the 7 microexpressions that we've covered in general today, those are universal in all cultures. Pain probably also, but it's not yet proven.
Yes.
So that is going to be useful to see not only the 7 one, but also other microexpressions like pain on patients' faces, or prevent them from committing suicide, like you saw during this webinar. Next question.
Yes, we have one from Veronica. She's asking, can I recognize mixed microexpressions as sadness plus anger or others? Is it possible to recognize combinations of those?
Yes, definitely. This webinar has definitely been a lot too short to even show the isolated microexpressions. And yes, there are many combinations. You have double combinations, and you even have triple combinations. So yes, and how they will show? Well, it's actually a little bit of a mix of those two. And you need a little bit of more experience to be able to recognize those mixes.
Yes, because as we have 3,000 muscles on our face, and we are using them for different microexpressions, so we can show microexpressions with our eyebrows, with our eyes, with our nose wrinkles, with our lips, and this all have different meaning. So, for example, you can have sad eyes, but with your lips you are showing fear or different thing. And it's possible that it can be a combination.
Any other questions?
Excellent. Yes, we have 2 about the program and being representative. The first one from Claudia. She's asking, can I take the training lessons at my convenient times, or should it be previously scheduled?
Yes, you can take the training lessons anytime you want. It's all recorded, it's all replays, so you can just watch the videos anytime you want. It's 1 hour per week for the practitioner, 4 weeks in a row, so it's 4 hours of videos, plus each time 1 hour of Q&A after that. So the full practitioner course is about 8 hours of video approximately, and you can watch the recordings anytime.
Yes, and you can also write your questions by email, and we can also answer them during the Q&A.
But it's important that you watch them all at the end of the course. There is an exam. You can take the exam anytime you want. but you have to get the certification.
It will be also with us, so you will have contact with us and we will talk about it.
So you have to watch all videos at least once to pass the exam. If you don't do that, there is no way you will pass the exam. So, but yes, it's possible to do it at your own pace.
Just in case, you can have one additional coaching session to work on this.
There was another one?
Yes, it's another from Susana. She's asking, thank you very much for this webinar. My question is, in your training programs, are they focused on how to deal with microexpressions in coaching sessions? I'm a coach and I would really be very interested on that.
Yes, so because about 50% of our public are in coaching or trainers, even 60% until now. So yes, we focus a lot of questions and issues that are very useful in coaching. However, we address also other problems and issues for salespeople and HR professionals.
Yes, but in the coaching training, we address those issues from the perspective of a coach. So if you would like to coach salespeople, you need to know how to recognize those expressions in the context of sales meeting or, for example, HR meeting. So we will be talking about different specialties and how to coach people to recognize microexpressions in different specialties.
So the answer to your question, briefly saying, yes.
Many thanks. And we have actually receiving many questions, so this is good. I'm happy to.
All right, we have time.
Nice.
So
okay, thank you very much.
We go for the question from Charlotte. She's asking, is absence, between quotes, absence or lack of interest an expression, and how do you recognize it? Some people are very good at looking as they are there, but they are present, but not actually listening.
Well, there are many ways of seeing that, and one of the ways that you could see it, keeping a relationship with what we've talked today, is that on that person's face, you will not see any relevant, good-timed reactions with the micro-expressions that you would expect to see while you're talking. So, because we are in rapport with people, usually people react in some way to our words. You see micro-expressions on somebody's face when that person is listening. Well, if that person is not listening, is not attentive, is absent, then there is something wrong with the timing. There are no micro-expressions, or the wrong micro-expressions to what you're saying. You will see the difference. How exactly? Well, we should be able to show it you on video, so it will take a lot more than this short answer. So
there are actually two possibilities. First one is that the person is just indifferent and is focusing on something else and is not listening to you. And this is more the information about your communication. Maybe it's not the right time or not enough attention the person has to listen to you. Another thing, it could be also that we also discussed the micro-expression of sadness. If a person is very sad, sometimes their face is expressionless. And you see that there's no energy on the face. And it could be also the micro-expression of sadness. And people in intense depressive periods could also have this micro-expression.
But summarizing, there is not one general, across all cultures, identified micro-expression of absence.
Micro-expression of no micro-expression.
Yeah. Good. Next question.
Yes. So several participants are asking for books. What kind of books they can go through, or if there is any bibliography we can recommend.
On our website, we have also.
Well, What you could do is the research, the scientists that we've mentioned in the beginning of the webinar, those are people that have written a lot of papers and a lot of books on this subject. However, just learning micro-expressions or body language from books, it's useful, but from our experience, you have to really do it. You have to really practice it. You have to really see it. So, as books concerns, you can look up books of Ekman. You can look up books of Matsumoto. Horshaw has a very interesting one. A little bit older, but really interesting. He made some pictures of himself also, of micro-expressions. So these are good ones. I like very much, well, actually the first book that everything started is from Darwin. It says from the middle of 1800. And that was the first book when he... Charles Darwin, where he made proved the similarity actually between humans and animals. Where you find the most interesting information, that's scientific papers. So scientific papers in the field of body language and micro-expressions, there are very interesting researches in there. As a book, another one in about 2 months we'll release a Kindle ebook about micro-expressions, so you might be on the lookout for that. And well, that's what we suggest for now.
I think it's in reading them out because it's almost ready. We just need to put it on Kindle.
Yeah. All right, in about 2 months.
We can let you know.
Another question?
Yes, great. We have one related to being a representative from Claudia. What's required to become a ME representative?
To become a ME representative, actually the most important part is to follow the online training. And you can become a representative. What we mean by representative is somebody that is able to coach with micro-expressions or train with micro-expressions in their area. So you just need to follow the certification of coach or certification of trainer.
Yes, and as we said before, we are also giving a lot of help with that because there are many possibilities to work with us and to be on the website, and we can help also with marketing or with finding clients, and the person can use also our references.
So just follow the training, make sure to pass the exam, and then you're a representative.
Excellent. So we are going through the last question for today. That is, I would like to know if children's expressions are true enough despite their limited vocabulary.
Yes, children's expressions, depending on which age, are very, very true and very true enough. Of course, you have to calibrate and see, because children from the year of 6 years old already has research has shown that they can actually try to lie to their parents. So from 6 years old, you're really on the watch out, because they already saw that you react on that and consciously are manipulating you. And also even a lot younger kids of a few months, they Kasia wants to say something.
Yes, actually newborn children, they can mirror the micro expressions of their parents by some very simple things like opening mouth or showing the tongue. And after 36 hours, they can also react on the change of micro-expressions. And there was a research that they were being shown different micro-expressions. And when there was only one micro-expression but repeating, they stopped focusing on it. But when the micro-expressions were different, the newborn baby, it was following the microexpressions. So you could say that newborn babies, they have a special detector of microexpressions before they can show their own microexpressions. So it's very interesting. And also one more research that 1 month babies, they were opening the pupils. The pupils were enlarged of the eyes when they were showing faces, and they weren't not enlarged when they were seeing different objects. So this means that faces and also microexpressions are very, very important in our development as a human being from the beginning.
So, Alejandro, this was the last question. So we'd like to thank you, Alejandro,